Hello, this is Lucas Palmeira from Imaginando, and I'm here to give another tutorial on DRC. Today I'm going to show you how to make some sounds from the song It's My Life by Talk Talk. We're back to the classics, and this band is a band from the 80s that was one of the pioneers of introducing synth sounds and electronic elements on their compositions, and they were quite prolific on it. And it was a band that influenced me a lot in my childhood and has some really, really nice sounds. So let's get right into it. We're going to make 8 sounds of the track. And we're going to start with a bass that on the original track is actually an electric bass. But I will do my best to find a patch that sounds good on this track. And the bass sounds like this. It will be like this. I'm gonna bring it back to the default patch. Okay, and first thing I'm going to do is go to the sub-oscillator, raise 1 octave, and change it to a sine wave. And now raise pregain and raise sub-oscillator as well. Now drop cutoff to 280. Okay. Now we drop the envelope generator to amount. This is the amount of this envelope generator 2 that will modulate the cutoff. And we're dropping it to 234. And resonance to 108. Okay. Now, for the first envelope generator, the one that modulates the amplitude of the sound, attack at 0.30, decay at 500, sustain at maximum, release at 243. Okay, now for the second envelope generator, the one that modulates the cutoff, attack at 0, decay at 176, sustain at 328, and release at 547. Okay, and here we have our sound. This is our bass. Now let's go to these first violins, which sound like this. It kind of has a nice portamento to it. And let's bring back the default patch. Okay, first thing we're going to do is go to the performance mode and change from poly to mono. Portamento is already on, but we're going to turn legato on. I'll explain this in a second, but for now we're going to raise the portamento time to 768 milliseconds. Like this. What legato does is when I press the keys separately, I've got no portamento here. But if I press them while one is still playing, it will do the portamento to the next one. Like this. So next thing we're going to do is go to the cutoff frequency and drop it to 602. And raise the resonance to 160. Okay, here we go. Now, for the first envelope generator, attack at 0.36, decay at 1, at maximum, sorry, sustain at 632, release at 300. Now for the second envelope generator, attack at 0, decay at maximum, sustain at 852, and release at maximum. Finally, we go to the reverb, raise the amount to 395. And now decay to 736. Okay? Now let's go to the other sound. This is a high-pitched violin that basically does some kind of background on the music with a slow attack. This is the sound. Let's now go to the default. Okay. Now, first thing we're going to do is oscillator 1, oscillator 2 on the same octave. Fine-tune the second, let's raise it, the oscillator 2 to maximum, and fine-tune the second oscillator to 088. Okay. Now cutoff at maximum, resonance at 0, and now let's raise the attack to 608 on the first envelope generator. Decay at 500, sustain at maximum, release at 300. And now for the second envelope generator, attack at 0, decay at 230, sustain at 400, release at 100. Finally, we go to the reverb, raise the amount to 261, and the decay to 852. Okay? Now let's go to this lead sound. This original sound actually is played with this noise at the same time, like this. But the reason I don't use the noise generator on this synthesizer is because I need to filter the sound and I need the noise completely open on the filter. So I couldn't get both. So the best way to do it is using two synthesizers. So let's first do the lead sound and bring back default. First thing I'm going to do is raise pre-gain to maximum, oscillator 1, oscillator 2 to maximum, go to the second oscillator, drop 1 octave, and fine-tune it to 132. Okay? Now, drop the cutoff to 640, resonance at 528, now attack at 054, decay 500, sustain 800, release 578. Now for the second envelope generator, attack at 170, decay at 230, sustain at 400, and release at 100. Finally, we go to the reverb, raise the amount to 377, and decay to 785. Okay, now for the noise is just this. Okay, so open in DRC, default patch, and first thing, drop the oscillator 1 to 0, raise noise to maximum and pre-gain to maximum, drop the cutoff to 736, resonance at 178, and now attack at first envelope generator 054, decay 500, sustain 961, release at 468, now for the second envelope generator, 170 on the attack, decay at 230, sustain 400, release 100, and now we go to the reverb and raise it to 243 on the attack. And 632 on the decay. And both. Okay. Now let's go to the next sound, which is kind of a Celesta type sound. I'm gonna turn off this plugin just doing mono, this equalizer. This is just transposing 2 octaves. Okay. Now let's bring back to the default. Okay. Now, first thing we're going to do is master at maximum, pre-gain at 846. And now oscillator 1, oscillator 2, and sub-oscillator at 578. Okay. And now oscillator 1, raise 1 octave. And now on the second oscillator, detune it 1, 1, 2. And on the sub-oscillator, changes to a sine wave. No, sorry, it's a saw wave as well. Like this. Now, cut off at 710. Drop them envelope, no, this is okay. Resonance at 838. Okay, now for the first envelope generator, attack at 0, decay at maximum, sustain at 785. Release at 511. No, sorry. Release at 517. 517. About that. Okay. And on the other one is 724. Okay, release at 517. Envelope generator 2. 0 to 30. Sustain at 718. And release at 395. Okay. Finally, we go to the reverb, amount at 498. And decay at 620. Okay. We got the sound. Now let's go to the violins of the chorus. On the Celesta, let's just turn on the equalizer. As you see, it's boosting the low frequencies. Now let's go back to the violin. Turn on the mono. Turn on the equalizer. And now let's go to the sound. Bring back default. Okay. Now, first thing I'm going to do is both drop 1 octave on the second oscillator and detune 140. Okay. Sub-oscillator plus 1 octave. And just 1 second. I'm just going to check this out. Okay. And first thing we're going to do here is master at 858. Pre-gain at maximum, oscillator 1, oscillator 2, and sub at maximum. Drop the cutoff to 538. Resonance at 484. And now, first envelope generator, attack at 011. Decay at maximum, sustain 785. Release at 511. Okay, second envelope generator, attack at 0, decay, sustain at maximum, and release at 100. Finally, we go to the chorus, turn dimension on, turn the chorus on, and we have a rate of 145 and depth of 614. Finally, we go to the reverb and raise the amount to 316 and the decay to 736. Okay? Finally, let's turn on the the equalizer was already on. No, not on this one. Turn it on. And the mono as well. Finally, let's do the last violin that only appears on the chorus and sounds like this. Very high-pitched one with high frequencies. Gonna turn off this mono and this equalizer. And let's go to the sound. Default patchback. Okay, let's go for it. First thing I'm going to do is oscillator 1, oscillator 2 to maximum. Now, on second oscillator, drop 1 octave and fine-tune to 128. Like this. Next, first envelope generator, we don't need to touch it. 0, 500, 800, and 300. And on the second one, I think it's the same. 0 to 30. Sustain at 400 and release at 100. We need just to go to the reverb, raise amount to 797. And the decay to 139. Just want to check one thing before. I think we're almost ready. Let me just check one thing on this sound. Seven nine seven 139. Yeah, that's what I thought. There was a confusion here. It's not on the reverb. Forget the reverb. It's on the chorus. Turn on the chorus, and the depth is 797, and the rate is 139. Okay, like this with no reverb. And I think we have everything ready. Just going to turn on this equalizer and the mono. And please bear with me while I get this ready for us to listen. It will be just a second. This was long, 8 sounds. I hope you enjoy it. Let's now listen. And this was it, guys. I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial. We will be back next week, so please give us a like or subscribe. Goodbye.